Elite athletes spend years working to perform the perfect dive on a world stage like the Olympics. So many hours of grueling, repetitive training for a dive that's over in a matter of seconds. In those few seconds, every single move they make is closely scrutinised by a panel of sharp-eyed judges. What if I told you that you too could score a dive like an Olympic judge? Well, dust those crumbs off your shirt, my friend. By the end of this video, you're going to be a certified armchair expert in diving. And if you want to have a go scoring a dive yourself, head to our online story. The link is in the description. Okay, let's get into it. The first thing you'll need to know is the start position. Good posture is a must. The head's got to be in line with the body, elbows straight and feet together. The next element is the takeoff, which should be bold, high, and a safe distance from the board, making sure to get enough height to complete the next phase, the flight path. This dive requires 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position, so you're looking for the knees to be pulled in close to the chest. Then we have the entry. A diver's body should be vertical as it enters the water, so they have enough time to straighten out before hitting the water and making as little splash as possible. The best kind of entry is called a rip entry, which makes almost no splash at all. The worst kind is like you'd expect. It's a belly flop. And at 10 meters, with that surface tension, you do not want to be hitting the water like that. Now you know the basics, let's up the stakes and look at a real dive. This is Nikita Haynes, a 10-meter platform diver from Perth who's making her Olympic debut in Tokyo. She's about to perform a reverse 2.5 somersault tuck. To make it interesting, we've enlisted the help of Olympic judge Gillian Brooker to help score her dive.
Hi, I'm Gillian and I'm going to Tokyo as the Olympic judge for Australia, and I'm also the CEO of Diving New South Wales. I've been involved in diving for a long time, over 30 years.
Okay, Gillian, let's take a look at the dive.
She's got quite a good start position. Nikita's got some beautiful posture, looks fantastic. Then I'm looking for a good jump and a good distance from the board as she comes past the board, which she had a reasonably good jump. I'm looking for a really tight tuck position, and straight away I kind of noticed it wasn't as tight as it could be. It was still good, but not very good. So I've made a slight deduction because I felt her hands were towards the upper knees, and if she'd held her legs a little bit closer, a little bit lower down, she could have pulled the tuck in a bit tighter and got a faster rotation. So she's left the dive slightly short and she slightly turned her body on the entry. So I've made a deduction there. It wasn't quite ripped because it was short. She did throw up a bit of splash. It was a tiny bit short, just a little hollow in the back, so that gives up more splash. A rip entry would be no splash at all. They just disappeared.
So your final score?
Straight away I went 7.5. While I thought it was middle good, I didn't think it was a very good dive.
Okay, let's have another go. We'll show you the same dive, but this time from a different diver. This is 4-time Olympian Melissa Wu. She's going to do a reverse 2.5 somersault tuck.
So if you have a look, she stands there, she's got perfect posture in the beginning. She gets a very good jump, like her takeoff's nice and high. She's a good distance from the platform. And then she squeezes into that tuck position like it's a beautiful shape, that tuck shape. She's ticked all the boxes. She times the entry perfectly. She's spinning and rotating really quickly, and then she just times that entry to perfection and just disappears into the water with very little splash.
So Gillian, what's your score for Melissa?
There's not much you could actually deduct for. I would probably give it 9.5 because right at the end, and I don't judge what's underwater, but to me it was just that tiny little bit scoopy at the bottom.
You're probably starting to get the hang of this, so let's mix it up even more. This time, let's see a completely different dive from a different diver. Here we have Sam Fricker, who's also making his Olympic debut in Tokyo. He's going to pull off a back arm stand double somersault 1.5 twist. Judging an arm stand dive begins the moment a diver's feet leave the platform. One of the hardest things about it is holding that steady balance. Any sign of a wobble can lead to a deduction.
It's beautiful. He's come up confidently. He hasn't hesitated. I just would like to have seen him hold that a little bit longer and not wobble as much. And when he pushed off, he pushed too far out instead of up, and he's a little bit loose going through the water there. You know, he kind of twisted a little bit quickly off the platform too with that arm stand. I don't know, I quite liked it. He's got this presence about him as well, so I thought it was still satisfactory.
And what score did you give Sam?
I'd give it I think a 6 or 6.5 maybe, yeah.
There's a lot more to diving than the scoreboard. Nikita began diving at 13 after years of gymnastics. Now she's at the Olympics. Nikita, what is it about diving that's kept you hooked all these years?
Just the ability of my body to throw myself off of 10 meters and know where I am and spin. It's a really interesting feeling, and it's really, really exciting that I'm one of the few people that can do something like that.
What do you think about during a dive?
My coach gives me one cue, and it's something that we've focused on in training leading up. So we start our training with thinking about a lot of different aspects of your dive. And by the end, by competition, I'm thinking about one thing and one thing only. And that kind of just helps me block out all of that external noise. I cover my ears so I don't hear other people's scores. And I'm just thinking about that one key thing, and so that I don't get distracted until I go.
Could you share one of those cues with us?
For example, through your toes or 3, and that kind of means a feeling or a thing I'm gonna do with my arms or my feet. And if I do that thing, then I know that I've kind of done the whole dive correctly.
What's your favourite moment in a dive? Is it the anticipation, the mid-air spinning, or the moment you come up from the water?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think my favorite moment is as soon as you've hit the water and you know that you've done a good dive. It's just an overwhelming feeling of achievement, of happiness. And even if it's in training or at a competition, that feeling is the exact same. And I just love that moment that you know that you've nailed it.